Okay, so you can probably tell I'm filming in a different spot. That's because I started my new job today, and at least for the rest of this week, really just in the mornings, I need someone else to drive me. And the only one I can is my grandmother, because my rest of the family is on vacation. I know, they went on vacation without me. How dare they? That was pretty much my choice. I could have said, like, hey, they're on vacation, and they could have made it up, because there were some people today that weren't in. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be like, okay, so I'll have this week off. Like, okay, fine, yeah, no problem. And I come back and they're like, yeah, so to make up for that junk, you're gonna have to come in early morning and after school and on the weekends and on Labor Day, which Labor Day people would close anyways, I'm sure, but you know what I mean. I didn't want that to happen. So without further ado, let's get into the books I'll be reading in the next few days. Now, how am I going to read all these in the next few days? Well, I've finished some of these, but I'm going to review them all at once, rather than be like, oh, part 1 is this set of books, and part 2 is this set of books. The way I want to do it is I want to do a whole bunch, or a good amount, on Friday I'll be reviewing before I return them. And then, of course, the ones that I'm picking up that rest are going to come in tomorrow. They should have been in today, but tomorrow. That video will be next video I upload or whatever. Actually, so I want to see something. This might actually be my 750th video. I might as well make it my 750th video. Now that's another thing. So big changes are coming to this channel. So that's good that this is going to be my 750th video. Checking sure. Yep. So big changes to this channel. The biggest change is that because I am not sure of how I'm going to get the videos out. I mean, at the end of the month, it's a little easier because of comic calls and whatnot. But since I don't know 100% how that's gonna play out, whatever, I'm going to push videos really far into the future, and like a week later. Like this video, I'm uploading on the 21st. It's going to be pushed to a week from now, and then the comic review video is going to be pushed a week from now. And then the video of me showing off the comics, that kind of feel like it's a bit too long, so maybe what I'll do is after this, I'll just review the books. Be like, here's a book review. So the videos aren't so redundant, I'll do that. But even then, I don't know. And if I'm sure I have enough videos to upload, and I'm sure, okay, do this that week, that week, do this that week, do that next week, then I'll go back to normal schedule. But for now, that's what's gonna be. And honestly, I don't mind it because it gets me to weekly uploads, just because it's just the fact that, oh, I want a conversation to be had with this, but it doesn't happen anyways. So, without further ado, let's get into it. First two are the same series, and that is Clementine. This, along with Walking Dead Rick Grimes and Walking Dead The Alien, conclude everything I need to read for the Walking Dead comics in general. I hope that light back there isn't too bad. It's just the only way I can get good lighting in here. Because yeah, I can still see the book. Yeah, perfect. But this is all I need. This is the rest of The Walking Dead. I've read all 193 issues of the ongoing series, but they had some spin-offs. And those spin-offs being the ones I just showed. Now, the Alien and the two Clementine books are written by different authors. They're not written by the series' original writer, Robert Kirkman. He did come back for Rick Grimes 2000. The Alien is written by Brian K. Vaughan. This is actually my own copy. This isn't a library book. The rest are library books. This is the only non-library book. This is my personal copy of The Walking Dead. So I need to make sure to return that by accident. It's my own copy of The Walking Dead book. And it's because it's Brian K. Vaughan, and for me to be completest to me was like, we need to get The Alien. Yeah, it's the only Walking Dead book we're going to have in our collection for now, but it's the last Brian K. Vaughan book I need for Image Comics. Also, the library didn't have The Alien in general, so when I wanted to, again, completest to me, wanted to read everything Walking Dead, comics-wise, and speaking of, graphic novel-wise, that was the last one I needed. So I needed it either way. And yes, it was something that back then I was really like tossing and turning over because look how thin this book is for $20. It's really good. It's really like the presentation of the book in general is spectacular. That's one little spoiler. It is in general because it's oversized. It's omnibus size, but come on, guys. But I don't really care. Spoilers. It was worth it. Anyways, because I read that one. But I'm not going to go over every book I've read and review it, obviously. We're actually going to move on. Next up, we have Dark Knight. This is the Paul Dini series I read. This is the reread. I read this a while ago, so it's one of those books that may as well have been a reread. Because I remembered like 3 things from it of my first reread. 1, what the story is about. 2, that was based off a true story, and it's an autobiographical tale. And 3, that not Aaron Sorkin. The Harley Quinn's voice actress from the Batman animated series makes an appearance. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Because for the longest time, I didn't know that was actually based off a true story. And I did. And I was like, wait a minute. That's kind of weird. Why would you have that? Oh, because it's a true story. Giant Days Volume 5. Finally jumping back into this series. Now, why I say that? Well, for the longest time, I was just getting... so I started out, I was like, okay, I'm going to be done with library books for now, unless it's other than movies, and I'm going to focus on books in my personal collection. Then I checked out a couple, I was like, you know what, I want to read this one again, because I think I wanted to break even. So I was like, okay, you know what, let's check out a few library books. They're mainly from my library itself. And I put in like 1 intro loan. But they weren't really, I have a checklist of the books I want to check out, and none of them were in that checklist. I think maybe one was. I think at that point, that's right too. It was to get the overall total to be a little bit less than what it was. It's like it's a lot of books to check out. Let's check out a couple of these. Now that I want to break even. And then most recently, it was just with Conan, right? I think so. I mean, maybe one other book. But anyways. And even that was because a subscriber had asked if I'd read anything Conan. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should finish a Conan arc, at least 1 story arc, even if it is just 4 issues, because I don't include that free comic book day 1, even reading the actual issue itself, because it was just 8 pages and the rest was ads. Anyways, moving on. Sandman Volume 8. Now, one other thing I'll spoil. I haven't finished this one yet. I've only read like the first 2 issues. Actually, yeah, first 2 issues. One thing I'll spoil is that this volume, because the way in Sandman for the most part, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this volume. This is a volume where blank happens. And I remember really liking this one. But even then I was like, I think. I never said this is concrete. I always said I think. And this one is another example where I was like, I think this was the one that, I remember the weirdest thing from it. This is the one that didn't have the, they always had the issues. They always said chapter 1, chapter 2, because that's where the issue started. And this is the only one that didn't do that for whatever reason. And that is indeed this one. Another thing I remember was like, and that's also the one, if I'm not mistaken, it's the same one I didn't really like that much. And so far, yeah, that's the case. It's very much Fables and Reflections. That feel. So, that's what I don't like about Sandman. If you want to know if you want to know the Sandman stories I like, read Volume 1, first of all, and then I believe it's Volume 5 and Volume 7. Those are my top favorites. Those are the volumes that if the series was like that, I would agree with everyone else when they say that Sandman is one of the best comics of all time, graphic novel series of all time. As it stands, I think it's a bit overrated. I hate to say it. I hate to be that, like, cruel about it, but I think it's been underrated. Like, a bit. I understand why people like it, and in that regard, it's not underrated. I mean, it's underrated. It's not overrated, but in the sense that, like, people think it's the best comic of all time, and they've read Preacher, thinking that's the best comic of all time, yeah, that makes the comic overrated. I would say I can understand people having a top 10 and including Sandman. Now, I would probably need top 30 and put even then put it in honorable mention. I'm very critical about Sandman. Sandman is the ultimate. I have potential for this thing, this entity or this thing in this case, but I'm saying more like for students. and because I have more potential for this thing, I am going to treat it much differently than these other things in the same category. Teachers have been doing it since day one, and no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be a paraprofessional anyways, like a paraeducator, so I'm going to be an actual teacher. But that's kind of one of those points where I understand why teachers were like that. Except we have bodies. I have zero idea what intrigued me to buy it. Intrigued me? What got me to check this one out from the library? I don't know if it was the fact that I just had seen it, just browsing in general, or like it was on DC's comic sales. Because sometimes they'll do that. Sometimes they'll have a sale on like digital books, and I'll be like, okay, I wonder if that one's in the library. Let's see. And it turns out it is. Like, okay, instead of spending even at a discount, instead of spending money on it, let's get it from a library. And that's what I did. For that, that's what I did. That might have been what I did, and that's why I checked out Bodies, or I just was browsing another book and this one showed up, or whatever. So sometimes I'll do it even if it's completely unrelated to what you're looking up, because that's how the search engine is. I have no idea, but I checked out this one, and it was actually, even then, maybe because of maybe that's why I can't remember, because of how long it's been, I feel. Because at first, I think it was like, you can't check it out, it's too new, we just got it in the Learning Library. So when I say I put it in for intro loans. Other libraries give it to our library. Maybe I did that, and then it said, nope, it's too new, we can't check it out, and I did it a few months later. Maybe it's been that long. Honestly, the last 2 months have, 2 months have, been squeezed into one. June, July, and August, they've been 1 month. So maybe that's what happened. And I just don't remember it because it's whatever. Because I don't remember being that long, but it has. And then I put it in again, and it was like, okay, active. Gotta wait for the library to put it in, but once the library has it back in stock, we'll give it to you. Maybe that happened. I have no idea, but that is one. I know most of you guys don't care about the stories, but I think it adds more. Not flavor, it sounds stupid, but it adds more, it adds more to it. Rather than just saying, here's this book, here's this book, here's this book, here's this book, okay, the video's video's over. Rereading Nightwing, this one I just picked up today, and it was mostly because I was I thought I had more days, I had more time than I did. As it stands, I'll be reading 2 of each book per day, except for Giant Days, but even then, probably, to get it finished quickly, I probably was do 2 of everything, might as well. I completely lost my train of thought. It went out the window completely. 2 of each video, 2 of each book. I overshot myself. It's just 2 books, though. No, complete blank. Nightwing, Volume 1, Tom Taylor's run, and also I wanted to see if they have Volume 2. Probably should look it up, but, honestly, the 2 books I picked up today, because I can't pick up books anyways, I was kind of like, do I really, at the end of the day, I was kind of like, do I really pick these up, or did I just pick it up because I wanted to get 2 more? Because I was like, oh, it's a series that's 4 issues, this is only 6, I read it 2 per day, I'll get it done for Friday. I was like, no, because you're going to be at school on Friday, and you're going to have to, I'll just do it after school before I go home. But that is Nightwing, Volume 1, because I had to eat dinner here, too. And then, so my grandmother always makes sure we eat. She is that kind of grandmother, honestly, it's kind of funny. And then finally, Robin, Son of Batman, Volume 1. This one, honestly, this one's been so long, but also not that. It's one of those books where I'm like, it hasn't been that long. How the hell do I not remember a whole lot about this book? Why am I drawing complete blanks to a lot of what happened? And that was a month, not even a month after I'd read it. So I was like, you know what? I saw it today. I was like, you know what? Let's check it out again and refresh our memory. Because I remember liking it. I remember thinking it was pretty damn good. But that, as I say, is that. And when I say 2 of each, is this pile. The way I read books, so this is I'll reiterate, this is the end of the video, those guys just want to see comics can go now, but I'm going to reiterate, how I read comics and, what I mean by OGN versus non-OGNs. So books like this pile here, Clementine, the 2 Clementine books, and the Walking Dead books, and Dark Knight are all OGNs. What does that mean? That means that's all in one. This wasn't like Dark Knight 1 through 6. This wasn't Rick Grimes 1 through 3 or anything like that. No, it's all in one. This trade paperback or this hardcover was released and it was all in one. It's all one story. It's a standalone story too. That helps, but that's usually not the case. Like Clementine, it's 2 books. It's not like standalone, but it's like all in one. So I read it all at once. Now, spoilers, something like Clementine, I didn't have enough time to finish it, and also it was a bit slow at first, so I didn't read it all in one sitting. I actually went to sleep and finished it the next morning. But for the most part, especially for these tiny books, short books, I read them all in one sitting. I know it doesn't really matter to people. I know most of you guys, like, it's one of those things that doesn't matter, but that's just one of those things that's how I read comics. Now for these books, usually I'll read one of each. I'll read one of Sandman, then, because issues, it's like 4 issues or 4 or 6 issues are collected in these books. Giant Days, this is 4, the rest are 6. And then Bodies, I'll read one of Bush's 8. I'll read one of Bodies, and I'll read one of Nightwing, and then one of Robin. That's how I read comics. I read one of each book. That way, if I have time especially, I will have read one of each book. Usually it's more than this, but it's just while we're finishing for Friday. I know that was super convoluted and a bit confusing, if anything, but that's how I read my comics. So there you go. And honestly, for a 750th video, I want to reiterate, because this could be your first video of mine. But that, as they say, is that. Now, I want to, also another thing, I think I mentioned that I was going to have my 750th video be that of room tour, but I don't think I need to do that. I think the one I did was fine enough. Maybe I'll do it at the end of this month. I don't know. That, as I say, is that.